This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore.
One of the reasons I do what I do is because of the lack of getting the job done on the part of mainstream media. The reason I am an independent media individual is because I am beholden to no one except for you, my audience. Because if I start going off the rails, you're not going to watch, and I'm going to be out of a job. Media doesn't really have it like that, though. They got a baked-in system of advertisers and a baked-in system of audience. It's just, there's only a few of them. It's kind of a monopoly, a 3 or 4 pronged monopoly. And this is one of the reasons why I rail against mainstream media so much and I promote independent media so much, is because so few of the moments I'm getting ready to show you take place. But when they do, because I'm not just a hater, I'm going to highlight them. I'm going to celebrate them. And this woman, Maria Elvira Salazar, who is a Republican congresswoman from the Miami, Florida area, was on, and she's up for a re-election bid, of course. Every 2 years, the entire House is up for re-election, as opposed to the Senate, which is about a third of the Senate every 2 years, because they have 6-year terms. And she's being held, her feet are being held to the fire by this local journalist with the CBS, I believe, the CBS affiliate there in Miami. And he is asking her about the hypocrisy of the Republican Party without even using those words. He's like, look, you keep talking about all this money you're bringing to the district, to your constituency, but you vote time and time and time and time again in a party line fashion against that money to be sent. And then, like the infrastructure bill, when it actually does pass, you're out there waving a flag. Look at me. This is so great for the district, even though you voted against it. And typically what happens in mainstream media, on occasions like this, when you have somebody involved with the mainstream media, they ask the question once and then they let it go. They allow the person off the hook, because anytime you're in a situation like this, there's tension that develops. It can be contentious, and that can be uncomfortable. But a good journalist, someone who does their job, is tenacious and sticks with that line of questioning, which is exactly what this guy did. And it was amazing. Watch this.
Last month, you were at FIU and you presented a check for $650,000 to help small businesses at FIU. But you voted against the bill that gave the money that you then signed a check for and handed and had a photo op, the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2023, right? You voted against that bill.
Right now, you have to give me more details, but I do know that every time I have an opportunity to bring money to my constituents, I do so. I just did $400,000. But look,
but you voted against the Chips and Science Act, right?
Listen, right now I need to ask my staff. But what do we look at the $40 million that I have brought to this community? Aren't you proud of me? Aren't you proud of the $40 million that I brought? Aren't you proud that I wrote the Dignity Act? Haven't I? Let's talk about the Americas Act.
Wait a second. Let me 1 second.
Tell me.
The money that you talk about, the $40 million that you bring back to the district, sometimes that money comes from bills that you voted against. You voted against the CHIPS Act, and yet you praise the fact that the South Florida Climate Resilience Tech Hub is going to be started in Miami, right? You voted against the infrastructure bill, and you talk about all the money that comes back to the airport. So at the same time that you're taking credit for the money that you bring back to the district, in Washington, you're voting against these projects on party line votes.
Listen, that was, I think, last cycle. I cannot really remember right now, but let's look at the Americas Act, which is what I'm going to, which is what I would like.
You don't want to explain why you voted against things.
I mean, right now, and I'm not trying to be a politician, there's so many bills that I've introduced that I know that many of them.
These are bills that you voted against.
That I understand. But it's okay. Sometimes I vote and sometimes I don't. But let's look at the positive. Let's look at the $40 million that I brought, and let's look at the.
Let's look at the positive. Why are you being so negative, Jim? She says. Listen, if highlighting your record is negative, that's not on the journalist, lady. That's on you. And this fumbling, stumbling, bumbling nonsense. I don't remember. I'd have to have my staff here holding my hand to remind me which way I voted on landmark, critically important legislation. That was last cycle. How can I be held accountable for my votes in a previous Congress? The mainstream media has it in their power to do this every single time they have a Republican before them. Every time. Meet the Press, Face the Nation. They all do. And they fail. Week after week after week after week. A lot of it has to do with the entrenched relationships that these people have with politicians. The glad-handing dinners and the backslapping compliments and the relationships that are built over years. They forget what their actual job is. The media doesn't serve themselves. The media is there and given constitutional protection to serve the people. That's what they're there for. The only occupation mentioned as protected under the Constitution of the United States in the First Amendment, the only occupation, and they act like they're there for them. You are given these protections because of we the people. Start doing your job. More Jim DeFeed, I don't know how to say his last name, but more of this. Less of the nonsense. And again, if your record is a negative thing, that says more about you than it says about the question being asked. What do you think? I'd love to know. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me, as always, daily@dollemore.com. Again, I would say this. Independent media is critically important, especially in today's day and age, leading into the 2024 election. And if you want to take part in supporting independent media, it doesn't have to be, I would appreciate it if it's me, but it doesn't have to be me. If there's someone else out there on this platform that does more for you, brings you more value, support them. It's not just a line, support them. If it is me though, that would be great. Consider supporting me. Hit the join button below for $1.99. You can take part in supporting this work. You can hit the super thanks button. You can go to my Patreon page, patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. Follow me on social media. I'm at Dollemore on Twitter and Instagram and Threads and TikTok and all of them at Dollemore. I'd love to see you there. And as always, I will see you next time. Until then, be genuine. Take care of one another.